Good morning, Year 12. Today we're going to be having a look at mental health in the time of COVID. We're going to be having a look at how we can manage ourselves in this third lockdown and what techniques there are to be able to help with isolation. The reason why we're having a look at mental health in the time of COVID is that previously we have had a lot of requests for more things to do with mental health. So we're covering this in tutorial. This may not be a tutorial that is applicable to everyone, but it's important that we cover it for anyone who is, anyone who might be struggling. So, this tutorial then is for anyone who is struggling with multiple lockdowns. It's for anyone who's feeling isolated or lonely, and anyone who is struggling with schoolwork and with stress as well. So hopefully by the end of this tutorial you'll have some techniques that you'll be able to use to manage stress, disruption and workload. You'll be able to have some ideas to help ease any feelings of isolation or of loneliness, and there will be some organisational ideas for you to be able to help you with time management. I can tell you right now that even as an adult, I do still sometimes struggle with time management. It is not something that is particularly easy when your workload is large. So, things that you can do if you are suffering from stress during lockdown. NHS in Mind provide useful breathing exercises that you can have a look at. There are daily routines as well that it's a really good idea that you make sure that you get into. Try to get up at a regular time. Always make sure that you sleep in the dark. Keep to regular eating patterns. You can do breathing exercises. You could try yoga. The NHS have got a big list of resources that would be able to help you to keep a daily routine if you want to look at this any further. Probably the main thing that you can do is to focus on the things that you can control rather than worrying about the things that you can't control. Now, that sounds very easy, and, the thing is that if you suffer from anxiety, sometimes that won't be easy. But trying to focus on the things that you can do rather than the things that are out of your control is something that will help you. Absolutely keep regular online or phone contact with relatives and with your friends. I personally know that I wouldn't have been able to manage any of these lockdowns if I hadn't have been in touch with my friends over Discord on a Friday night. That's the way that I keep in touch with my friends. You can let your imagination free. Imagine how life is going to be once it returns to normal. So it might be a challenge in the present circumstances, but it also can be helpful. So another thing that you can do is protect your sleep. So you can access Sleepio through the NHS Help website. Do the things that you've done before that relax you, whatever they are. Spending time with friends, spending time with family, doing lots of cooking, doing some physical activity. Make sure that you rejuvenate yourself. Do some of your hobbies, listen to music, watch films, watch telly, do some reading for pleasure, listen to some podcasts, poetry, reading or writing, and jigsaws are all good ways that you can rejuvenate yourself. And finally, remember, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and this crisis will pass. Might pass like a kidney stone, but it'll pass. So, things not to do during lockdown then. Don't let yourself use unhelpful supports such as smoking, excessive social media or games, and alcohol. Try and have some free days from these activities. Do make sure that you don't work without breaks. You would normally have learning breaks at school, so you really should be having learning breaks at home as well. Don't be afraid to admit what your fears are to yourself and when it's appropriate to other people as well. Don't just fall asleep wherever. Make sure that you're having a good kip in your bedroom, and make sure that you keep into a routine as well. You should be sleeping at night. Excessive napping isn't good for anybody. Don't be harsh on yourself. It won't help you and it won't help anybody else to be harsh on yourself. It is okay not to be okay during this time. So what I'd like you to do is pause the video and spend 5 minutes to plan something that you can look forward to this week. So it could be watching a film that you've not seen, it could be playing a new game, going for a walk, reading a new book, a quiz or an online board game with friends, a group call with your friends. So just to give you an idea, what I normally do is I have a games night where I do online role playing on a Wednesday night. I've also been spending a lot of time playing the new Avengers game on PS4. Those are the things that I try to look forward to. So I'd like you to just write in a comment on Satchel 1. Tell me what you're going to look forward to this week. In terms of workload management, workload during lockdown can be a lot harder to manage. As a teacher, I can tell you that it's harder to manage, and I can imagine it's only even harder when you're a student. So here are some tips to make sure that, to give you ideas what you can do to help. So make sure that you set a very specific time aside. Have your study periods set aside to work on each specific subject, so you should be aiming for about 3 hours per subject. Make sure that you have an end time every day, a single time where you reach that point and you stop working. You put your work down and you do something else that you're going to enjoy. Breaking it down as well is probably a really useful tool. One of the hardest things is sitting down and trying to complete an absolute mountain of work. If you break down your tasks into smaller chunks, you can always check off your progress rather than telling yourself to take notes on a whole book or a whole chapter. Just take it paragraph by paragraph and see how you go. So here is a task for you to do. Take a task that you need to do this week and break it down into individual bricks rather than imagining it as a huge task, to try and make it several smaller steps. And you can tick the steps off as you complete them. So this is something that you can do to help you manage your workload. In terms of managing loneliness, a small word, a little bit of help can make a really big difference. You can think about your support network. You guys have got friends, you've got family, you've got your tutors, me and Miss Johnson, you've got the sixth form team, you've got all of your teachers. Try and make time to discuss how you're feeling with your support group. Encourage yourself and your friends to eat well, have regular sleep and be active, but don't forget to do it for yourself. And do make sure that you let people know if there's any useful resources at all that you found online. So one of the things that you should be doing is, I'd just like you to spend about 5 minutes or so. Make a list of people that you talk to regularly. So it might be parents, it might be carers, it could be extended family, any uncles or cousins, and make a list of your friends as well. For each person, I'd like you to write down how often you initiate conversation with this person. Now, if it's me, I am absolutely terrible. I may have a lot of friends, but I'm really bad at initiating conversation with people. So what I've been doing is exactly this. I've been trying to plan some time during the week that I contact the people on my list. So spend 5 minutes to make your list and write down how often you initiate conversation. So, time management tips then. Do make sure that you wake up and you go to bed at the same time every day. It does make life a lot easier. It helps you to manage insomnia, and it is very helpful to do this. If you find yourself stuck on a task, don't just sit there and try and force yourself to make sure that you can do the task. It's not always possible. Try and do something different in a separate room for about 10 minutes or so. Go and have a cup of tea, read something online, call a friend, and then go back to the task. What you might need to do is set an alarm for that 10 minutes, because I know that I am particularly good at avoiding my own instructions. So what I tend to do is I set an alarm. You can also plan out the time that you think you need to complete a task and then add 10% as well, because a lot of the time it will take you longer than you think to be able to complete a task. So, who to contact in the school then if you're struggling? There is the sixth form team, okay, so you can email sixthform@highstores.sheffield.sch.uk. There is Miss Johnson, who is the SSA link. So sjohnson@highstores.sheffield.sch.uk. You've got your tutors, you've got Miss Johnson and myself, Miss Allen. And you've got Mr. Kelly, who is the head of year as well. If it's outside of school hours and you need to be contacting someone, if you need anybody to talk to, there's Childline, there's Shout. Couth provides a free online service for young people. There's The Mix, Sheffield Young Carers if you're a young carer, and One Space as well as Me Too. There's lots of different places. But please, the most important thing that you can do is get in touch with somebody if you are struggling. Okay, so that is the end of tutor time. I do hope that this has been helpful to some of you. Please do get in touch if you need any help whatsoever.